Hi, everybody. This is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio, where we educate, enlighten, and entertain. Folks, are you thinking about the COVID-19 vaccination? Do you have questions about it? Well, I have a terrific guest with me today, and we're going to talk about the COVID-19 vaccination. My guest has been on before. She's fantastic. I love her. I want to thank Mika Pollack for coming back on. She is Executive Director of Safest Drug, which is a nonprofit organization founded in 2019 with the mission to prevent and alleviate medication errors, and also promotes medication safety. Welcome, Mika.
Oh, thank you, Betsy, for that introduction. I'm so happy to be here. Happy New Year to you and the audience. And I'm excited to talk about this COVID-19 vaccine that we are all having to learn more about.
Thank you, and Happy New Year to you, too. It seems to change, like, daily. You know, you hear different information. Actually, Jeannie White, who's station manager, and I want to thank Jeannie White for writing the blog and producing the show, and Lillian Caldwell, CEO. She heard in some places they're giving half the dosage because they don't have enough of the full dosage. Have you heard that?
Well, I did hear that some of the vials, I think it was the Pfizer vaccine that was approved first, the Pfizer-BioNTech, I believe that each vial had, I forget the number, but maybe like enough for 5 injections. But there was still a residual amount of the vaccine product left. And so people were saying, we can use that still, right? We can still use some of that and use everything. So I'm not sure how they're handling that residual vial vaccine use, but I haven't heard that people are just getting half. I won't be surprised, but I haven't heard a lot of news about it yet.
Oh, okay. I think people might want to know, I know I do, is there a age restriction of how old you have to be to receive the vaccination, and is there a limit to the age of when you don't get the vaccination? You know, where it's considered too old.
Right. So good question. So at least as of recent, there are 2 vaccines, COVID-19 vaccines, that have been approved under an emergency use authorization by the FDA. The one was first approved by Pfizer-BioNTech, and the second was approved and is manufactured by a company called Moderna. Now, what I've learned based on the fact sheets and the information that's publicly available for each vaccine is that there is some differences around who was included in the research for both vaccines. And so there's some differences. So Moderna, they actually have their emergency use authorization approved in individuals 18 years and older. But the Pfizer-BioNTech one, the one that was the very first one approved, that one's approved for use in individuals 16 and older. I have not seen an upper limit, like a max age, for either vaccine. But I think that as more information is available, which will take a number of months to years when it comes to safety data, we'll know more about that.
Well, that's interesting. So the children who will not be getting vaccinated then, school-age children.
Yeah, I mean, from what I can tell, and I have 2 school-age children. I have a 15-year-old and I have a 12-year-old. My kids are not going to be getting the vaccine. And meanwhile, I know that the CDC is working closely with other federal agencies in different states to make sure that there's a priority level around who's receiving the vaccine first and rolling that out. You may have heard the stories about this, but I think the federal government or nationwide, we've had some issues with rolling out the vaccine as quickly as we wanted to. But yeah, right now I haven't seen any communication about kids under 16 for the Pfizer or kids under 18 receiving the Moderna at all. I think the idea is that the intent is to push mass vaccination across the adult population for the most part.
Oh, okay. Well, they say that, children aren't as prone to getting the COVID, but, there are children who have had the COVID. And I wonder if they'll be developing a separate vaccination just for children. I wonder if that will come up.
Well, normally what happens with all medications, regardless of a vaccine or not, is that they'll approve it in adults first because it's just the easiest population to really test a drug or research a drug on before it's approved for the first time. And then once it gets on the market, they'll start to eventually maybe put together some pediatric drug trials. But usually the child population is always last to really have a robust clinical research done on that population. Now, in America, there's something called off-label prescribing. And you're probably familiar with this, but just in case no one in your audience is, what that means is that, say, for example, your doctor prescribes a statin drug to help with your cholesterol. That particular medication, this is just a very random example, maybe was only approved or researched in an adult population. But a doctor or someone with prescribing authority determined that, hey, your 13-year-old could really benefit from this statin. Well, they can prescribe that medication for other reasons not indicated in the approval. So it could be something where we didn't research heavily under robust clinical trials for their age, or we didn't research heavily for that particular indication. So we're taking, that particular drug A, and we're going to use it for not what it was approved for, but use it for something else. So there's a little bit of flexibility around what healthcare providers are allowed to do with administering certain medications. My understanding with this COVID-19 vaccine is that they're trying to be a little bit more specific and detailed about who's receiving it. I am not receiving any word about them prescribing it in a population outside of what's been tested during the research. We're speaking of another difference between the Moderna and the Pfizer is that the Pfizer actually was researched on at least 44,000 people, and the Moderna was researched on 30,000 people. Meanwhile, both of the vaccines that have been approved under the emergency use authorization are a 2-dose series. So you get 2 injections, but the difference is the Pfizer one, it's 3 weeks apart, but the Moderna vaccine is 1 month apart. So there's some differences and there's some similarities that we have to pay attention to as well.
That's interesting. I'm also hearing on the news too, Mika, I'm sure you're well aware of this, that some people are experiencing allergic reactions to the vaccination. Now, of course, if you never received something before, you wouldn't know if you're allergic to it until you take something. Mm-hmm. So the people, I heard on the news, the people who are having a reaction to it, allergic reaction, are told not to take the second dosage. So if they can't take the second dosage, then how vaccinated are they? I know that might sound like a bizarre question, but how effective is the first one if they can't take the second one? I mean, are they really vaccinated? Do they have the protection?
So
I'm picking your brain here.
No, it's actually a very good question in the way you framed it. The honest answer is that no, they will not have. So both of these vaccines have reported greater than a 90% effectiveness rate. That's the one thing that's really been marketed very heavily and talked about, and has made a lot of people excited about, taking the vaccination. But it depends on the individual, right? I mean, like you mentioned, some people are having severe allergic reactions, and they're not recommended to go forward with the second dose. They're not going to get any full protection. Meanwhile, there's still even, unavailable research or information to know just how long the protection lasts, if it does work for you. From what I've learned from looking at the safety information and safety reports, there will be individuals where the vaccine may not help. It could cause allergic reaction or may not be as effective. There's variability. And so we don't know that until we start to do the mass vaccinations. but there will be severe allergic reactions, and those folks may not be able to go forward. Some of the severe allergic reactions that I've noticed for both of the vaccines include like difficulty breathing, swelling of your face and throat, a fast heartbeat, a bad rash all over your body or parts of your body, and even dizziness and weakness. Now, they say that usually all of these severe reactions should occur within a few minutes to an hour after you get that dose. However, there's other things that people should pay attention to. I always say, and you and I talked about this, you've had any medication, vaccine or not, and you don't feel the same, weeks, days, whatever afterwards, report that. Pay attention to how your body is feeling. Which, speaking of, I think one of the things that we need to do as a community and as, patients and consumers who, may be getting the vaccine is making sure we do speak up and we do report that. We have always at Safe Drug supported the FDA MedWatch form. So if you have any medication safety issues, reactions, product safety concerns, both suspected and confirmed, you can report it to the FDA MedWatch, and we have those forms and those links available on our resources page on our website. However, there's also a separate form for vaccine adverse event reporting. So that's something that we also have made available on our website. So, for example, if you have any vaccine side effects, and it's not just for the COVID-19 vaccine, it's really with any vaccine, they're urging the public to call 800-822-7967 or to report it online, and we have that link on our website.
I was going to ask about that, Mika, so thank you for providing that information. If someone who has a reaction, maybe it's not an allergic reaction, maybe it's something else, if they should definitely contact their doctor, of course, and to go on your company's website and contact your company and do a report, and of course contact the Federal Drug Administration. But definitely, people, even if you go to like a drugstore to get the vaccination, you have a reaction, you need to call your doctor immediately and get medical attention. I want to make that clear. Always call your doctor and get medical attention.
Absolutely.
Yes, personally, Mika, and this is just my opinion, I told my son, if you want to get the vaccination, go ahead. I'm leery of taking it myself because I am so sensitive to medications. I don't feel well when I would get the other vaccinations, and I'm really not comfortable to taking it. So I'm going to wait. I know I'm at risk. I'm 63. I have asthma. But I really feel like I should wait and see how other people react. So I'm not in a rush to take it. So, but that's my opinion, folks. You do what you feel is necessary or what your doctor advises you to do. But I'm waiting.
I think that definitely you're not alone though, Betsy. A lot of people are making that same decision and judgment call. I think that what public health is urging people to do is to make the best decision for you and your family. But also, if you decide not to get it or you haven't received it yet, we all have a responsibility to still, adhere to the strongest, public health protection options, wear a mask, social distance, and any other kind of guidances that are coming out of the CDC. So, definitely just encouraging people to continue to do that because it definitely does help and it saves lives.
Yes, we definitely have to wear masks, people, and I wear mine all the time. I even keep an extra in my car in case I forget to put one in my pocketbook.
That's smart. That's very smart.
Yeah, like, oh, no. So I started to do that. And I'm really concerned because you're hearing the news about the COVID variant that's coming out. And, do they think that vaccination would work with that? mutation.
The
Did
verdict
you
is out,
hear anything about
honestly. Yeah, because here's the thing, Betsy, this variant wasn't well known, and I think available during the clinical trials that happened for most of 2020, right? And so
right.
I think that in terms of, saying for sure and for certain that this what's been approved under the emergency use authorization is just as effective for all of the strains or the strands, that information is not been made heavily available. I think time is going to have to tell with that.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I was talking to another guest, Dr. Arthur Wernick. He's a clinical pharmacist, because I'm curious as a layperson, they come out with a different flu vaccine every year, according to what, was going on. I wonder, will they be coming out with a new COVID vaccination every year? Will they be improving it according to what's going on in the environment? It'd be interesting, to see, because there's a lot they don't know about COVID-19, and that's what's scary. As you know, Mika, that people can carry it but not have the symptoms, but yet
right.
they could affect other people, and they have no clue. That's
right.
what scares me about this.
Yeah, it truly is that invisible illness, right, that we don't know about until it happens in some people. And then there's such a wide variety of how people are impacted and how severe it is, or how mild it is. So there's so much unpredictability with it. And I think there is a chance that, we'll learn more, like we just learned at the end of 2020, that, yes, there's a new strain and it's more deadly because it can spread faster. And so I think we do have still so much more to learn about COVID-19.
Yes, we sure do. The long-term effects of this disease and how it's affecting people, the long haulers, as they call them, it's going to be interesting. And I believe they're still researching, because my local hospital, this is here in New Jersey, has an ad, if not every day, at least once a week, about being a participant in the COVID research.
Is this for treatment?
I think it's to I don't remember. I think it's it was with the vaccination. I think they were trying different to get the vaccination, and also for people who have had COVID to participate in research to find out, I guess, whatever they're looking for, immunity, how it affects them.
Antibodies.
Right, antibodies, that's it. My brain couldn't think. Yes. Well, I do entertain with my train of thought. But yeah, all this research, I find it fascinating, because it's just, I guess, the unknown. Now, I didn't even know this until recently, that even with the flu vaccination, I didn't know there was a separate one for people over 65. Well, I'm not 65 yet, but I didn't know that. So I wonder if they will eventually make a new COVID for people over 65.
I think there's honestly a chance for that. The flu is definitely, an infectious disease that impacts thousands of people every year in this country, and it has for many, many years. COVID-19 is not expected to go away. It's going to be something that eventually we'll have to manage just as much as we manage the flu. And I think that we'll definitely learn over time, what happens when people are exposed to the vaccine. Right now, yes, both the Moderna and the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine had thousands of people in their drug trials. However, now we're trying to vaccinate millions of people, right? So there's going to be so many more people, diverse individuals, different expressions that hopefully the manufacturers, the government researchers will be able to pull information about how people express their health outcomes and how well it actually helps to prevent illness or maybe even severe illness in individuals. One thing I thought was very interesting in the fact sheet. So whenever anyone, if you haven't received the vaccine yet, you may or may not, but for those who are considering it, one thing I want everyone to know is that when you get the vaccine, the Pfizer or the Moderna, you should receive what they call a fact sheet for recipients and caregivers. It's basically an FDA-approved form that lists out really key information about the vaccine. And they make it available in a very kind of easy-to-read fashion, but there's really nice key information there for people should know at a minimum. One thing that I saw that was really interesting on here is that there may be an option for people to enroll in what they call V-Safe. So V-Safe. Apparently this is a new voluntary smartphone-based tool that uses text messaging and web surveys to check in with people who have been vaccinated to identify potential side effects after COVID-19 vaccination. So I thought this was really cool because we do need to have as much repository safety data as possible on just about ideally everyone who takes the vaccine. But I think as many people who take the vaccine should definitely sign up for the V-Safe and report how you're feeling.
Thank you, Mika. That is very important because this is a new vaccine, folks, and they won't know unless we tell them. And we need to speak up if you are having a reaction, even if you feel, I don't think it's anything. I won't complain. I won't say anything. Say it. It's better to be safe than sorry. That's how I look at it.
Oh yeah.
Always better to be safe than sorry. I just had a thought in my head. Just went out again. Sorry about that, folks. I just think that, people should go by their doctor's, advice. And it was interesting. I read in the paper, a lot of people are unhappy of how it's getting rolled out here in the U.S., that they're not, getting it as fast. And this person who wrote the article said Israel, they were given the vaccination and might still be doing it 24/7, 7 days a week. They were giving out the vaccination so people could get vaccinated. Just a thought, people. Just a thought, doctors, and whoever listens to this. Maybe start thinking about doing it 24/7.
Right.
I know it costs money to hire people to do it, but that's the way you're going to reach the population.
Right. And actually, you made a very good point, Betsy, because think about the early days when COVID-19 hit our country in March, February last year, and how one of the biggest challenges early on in the public health response was in getting people tested. We need to know where the virus is, right? And we don't know if we actually test people. And so we had this, really slow turnaround time of getting, lab results back from the different lab providers who were doing or capable of doing COVID-19 testing. And we didn't have a lot of people knowing where to go. And only certain people would be invited or allowed to go to get tested. And what happened, what changed, is that we set up all of these drive-through testing sites, right? We made it so much more accessible. We improved the turnaround time for the lab results. We really got so much better with testing, right? And so we have to do the same thing and really approach it. If we want mass vaccination, we have to do, like you mentioned, mass groundwork in the field to make sure that it's available so people can get it as soon as possible, right?
That's right. Absolutely right. And I read that article, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and I'm thinking, that's a great idea that this, country Israel is doing, 24/7. They're getting it. You have shift workers, people who work nights. They may not be able to make it to a daytime appointment. So this way you can service more of the population. So I think that was a really great idea. But Mika, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing and talking to me about the COVID-19 vaccination. Is there anything else you would like to say about the vaccination?
Sure, and you're so welcome. Thank you for inviting me back. I think as parting words for individuals about the vaccine options, just want to mention that on our website, safestdrug.org, we have under our resources page a vaccine safety page. People can access the fact sheets that I referenced for both the Moderna and the Pfizer-BioNTech. There's also links there that help you to report any vaccine injuries of harm, any concerns, both, again, suspected and confirmed. As always, keep your doctor informed as well. And there's other important information there. We'll continue to update that. The other last thing I want to mention, and this is something that everyone can see in the fact sheet, is there is something called the Countermeasures Injury Compensation Program. They call it the CICP. It's a federal program that may help pay for any cost of medical care and other specific expenses of certain people who have been seriously injured by any certain medicines or vaccines. So this includes this vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine. There's information in the fact sheets about how to submit a claim and how to contact both online and through phone to get more information about the program. So, again, I think as we move forward with COVID-19 vaccination in this country, we need to think about, reporting what we're experiencing, helping public health officials, with the collection of that information, and making sure we take advantage of every resource in front of us so we can be as safe as possible.
Thank you, Mika. Thank you for that information about,
Sure.
Being compensated. That's very important. I mean, God forbid you get allergic reaction, you end up in the hospital because of allergic reaction. You'd want to be compensated for it, especially if you have insurance like mine. It's just really, I won't even get into that. I don't have time. But, if you have to pay 20% of your hospital bill, and, that I would want to be compensated. I'm being truthful. So, that's the truth. Well, thank you again, Mika, so much. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Folks, if you missed any of this podcast, you want to hear it again, you can hear it on wherever you hear podcasts. I'm on Amazon.com, for one, Reddit, Tumblr, and subscribe because you will hear important information from fantastic guests like Mika Pollack. You want to stay tuned and subscribe to Chatting with Betsy. Please read the blog because there's going to be important information on there. And please share this podcast to help someone else learn about the COVID-19 vaccinations and what they can do if they do get a reaction, where they can go. This is what Chatting with Betsy is about, is providing resources and helping others. So in a world where you could be anything, please be kind people. Wear your mask, please, and just be good humans. And I want to just thank everyone for listening. And until we chat again, this is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio. Bye-bye now.